The year was 1956. Larry Miller was 12 years old and in love with baseball. He listened to games for hours on the family radio.
Number 12.
You know how you'd have a crystal set or a old-fashioned radio, and he would listen to them at night.
Gail knew little about baseball when she met Larry in junior high school. They grew up just blocks apart and began dating at age 14. They married 6 years later.
I became aware of it when I met Larry because he played ball.
Larry played ball whenever he could, meeting up with his childhood friends. It may have looked something like this.
Whoa!
You call that pitching?
We played endless games of baseball, and we just did it on a pickup basis, a random basis.
All right, Em.
Larry was part of a group of us that became fast friends, really a band of brothers. I now have the skin cancers to prove it, actually, because we spent so much time out playing ball.
They played ball at Triangle Park, just northwest of the state capitol. When they weren't there, they played right on the Capitol grounds. Larry was the star player.
He was very competitive then. He hated to lose and didn't think he should lose and couldn't imagine why he would lose. He came home from a doctor's appointment once when we were 11 or 12 and said his doctor said he had perfect aim and arm power. Now we were glancing at each other saying we're not sure what part of the exam would have revealed that, but Larry believed it, and it turns out he was right.
After his Little League season at age 12, Larry's focus moved to softball.
He moved into softball with the church program. The LDS church had a big softball program, fast pitch softball. He had a neighbor that said, Larry, we need a pitcher for our team, and I'll teach you how to pitch if you'll put in the time and effort. This is Keddington.
That effort was nonstop through Larry's teenage years, practicing his different pitches year-round. When it was too cold outside,
he would pitch inside in his house with a dart on a dartboard down a hallway, and he could throw a dart underhand and hit the bullseye. So this was serious stuff to him.
Serious enough that Larry pitched in his first World Tournament at age 24. He threw a perfect game just days before his 25th birthday, and he later moved his young family to Colorado to play at the national level for the next 8 years.
Larry taught me how to throw my changeup.
Vaughn Alvey played on Larry's Toyota team for 5 years beginning in 1979. He remembers well his competitive nature.
Larry was pitching in a game, and our then manager, Ralph Ludlow, Larry was having a little rough go. It went out to replace him. He told me to get warmed up, and he walked out to the circle, called timeout, went out, and Larry's first words to him is, "What do you want?" And he turned around and walked back to the dugout and continued to pitch.
We had a lot of road trips, and he would ask everybody questions about how they threw their pitches. And I mean, even if he beat the team, he would ask the other guy, you know, how did you throw your rise? How did you throw your change? They would all reciprocate, but they were surprised after he beat them. He would talk to the losing pitcher and ask him how he threw his pitches.
I think Larry was in top 10 of national caliber pitching. He could hold his own.
He was not only a really good pitcher, he was a great hitter. So most pitchers don't hit, but he did, and a lot of times he batted fourth, which is the power position. So he was good enough to be recognized as one of the top pitchers in the nation.
Larry continued to pitch until he retired in 1985 at age 41. After nearly 30 years on the mound, he hung up the glove and took that competitive fire into another arena when he and Gail purchased the Utah Jazz.
I worried about him, and then I was surprised that he could give it up.
Not long after his retirement, Larry was inducted into the International Softball Hall of Fame as well as the Utah Hall of Fame. He pitched in nearly 1,100 games, winning more than 800. In 2005, he purchased the Los Angeles Angels AAA team, now the Salt Lake Bees, and he still loved to study the game.
I remember we had Bartolo Colon here the year after he won the Cy Young Award on an injury rehab assignment, and Larry sat right behind home plate, and he had binoculars watching Bartolo pitch, and I asked him after, what in the world are you needing binoculars for? And he said, well, I wanted to see how he was holding his fingers on the ball. And here was the guy who just won the Cy Young, so I'm going to watch what he does and compare that to what we do.
Larry passed away 14 years ago, but his lifelong passion for baseball and softball lives on.
I think bringing MLB to Utah is a natural because we're a family-friendly state.
Gail is carrying on her family's love of the game. In April, she announced her family and the Larry Miller Company would spearhead an effort to bring Major League Baseball to Utah. Did you ever imagine when you bought the Jazz that your life would be like this today and the importance that you play in all of this?
I had not an inkling of what my life would be like today, especially when Larry died. It was like, okay, I'll take about a year, get disentangled, go on and live my life. It's 14 years later and I'm still entangled.
Why do you think, Gail, it's important for you and your company to bring a team here?
We as a family and a company do things that shouldn't be done because they're exciting.
Stockton, open three.
They're beneficial to the community. They give others an opportunity to have a recreational outlet. They bring families together. I think the opportunity with the expansion and the liquidations that we've made gave us a little bit of an opportunity to look at it with a different eye.
He loved the sport.
Steve Starks is CEO of the Larry H. Miller Company.
Well, I think that we all live in some ways under Larry's shadow, respectfully, and we try to live up to the standard that he set. But at the same time, we're very forward-looking.
One thing we know for sure, we have the greatest snow on earth. But now we want to bring to this great state the greatest game ever invented.
Former baseball great and Utah resident Dale Murphy is part of the broad coalition, pitching the state as a great major league destination.
We have unmatched outdoor recreation with 5 national parks, and now it's time to add one more park to that list, a major league ballpark.
The proposed site for the park is the 100-acre Power District on the west side of Salt Lake City. Ironically, it's about a block away from where Larry threw his perfect game over 50 years ago.
We're the fastest growing state in the country. We have the best economy in the country. We have the most convenient location of anywhere in the crossroads of the West, and we're a state of sport.
Muncy swings at the first pitch, unloads down the line, grand slam!
When you think about 81 home games, America's pastime, the Dodgers, Yankees, Cubs, Red Sox coming to our market, and it would give us one more thing that makes Utah the greatest state in the country.
While the process is early in the game, Stark said the goal is to be shovel-ready in the next 12 to 18 months. So if and when Major League Baseball is ready for expansion, so is Utah.
Being able to provide something new and exciting, something different, something that not everybody could do, but that everybody can participate in. So for me, I think it'll be a good thing. Ron has died. Denny has died.
Though many of Larry's childhood teammates have also passed away, Gail wants to make sure their love of baseball never dies. 67 years since that band of brothers played their first Little League game.
Well, I'm sure he loved basketball, but let's face it, baseball was his first love, our first love in terms of sports.
Oh, I think he'd say go for it. I think he would support it wholeheartedly.
And if a team does come to Utah,
I'm sure he would love it and probably is loving it.
And a very pleasant good evening, everyone, and welcome to baseball on a hot summer's night here in Salt Lake City.
For Beyond the Game, I'm Kathy Aiken, KSL.com.